Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm trying out natural light this time. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. So there's kind of a reason I watched this, and there's a bit of a story attached. So if you'd rather skip it, jump to this time code, because it's not a short one. One of my oldest and closest friends is Estonian. Here's Estonia, by the way. It's a Nordic country. Do not call it Eastern European. I've known her for 11 years as of this video. Jesus Christ. But it occurred to me that I didn't know that much about her culture. I knew her, and up to this point, that's all I cared about. But after a while, I did want to know more about the culture. So my way of learning, I wanted to tease her by looking up things you do not say to an Estonian.
We were joking around and realized we didn't know how to insult each other, or how not to.
So a few weeks or so ago, I found a fun little article that detailed a few such things. One that caught my eye and has since stuck with me is, do not question our unshakable confidence in the fact that Estonia will someday, once again, win Eurovision. Two things. One, I really wanted to tease my friend with this information and see how she'd react. She laughed and said it won't happen. And two, it was in this moment that I had discovered what Eurovision was. Yeah, even though this international singing contest is decades old, this was the first time I've even heard of it, much less even knew what it was. For the uninitiated, and for the record, everything I say here is something that I learned as I wrote it, EUROVISION Song Contest has been going strong every year since 1956, with the notable exception of 2020, because fuck 2020, you fucking cunt bucket of a year, making it, ooh, here's a pair of respectable accolades for you, the longest running annual international television contest and one of the world's longest running television programs. Period. Look at that period, motherfuckers. That's a full stop right there. Try and argue that shit. Also, I guess this movie is semi-based on a true Icelandic group. Yeah, the group called,
Well, I'm not even gonna attempt that.
They were actually pretty popular leading up to the now canceled 2020 Eurovision. The reason for the story is basically a dragged out explanation as to why I even bothered to watch the movie. Generally speaking, I don't mind skipping Netflix movies, because I prefer the movie theater experience, and I doubly would have avoided this because it's a Will Ferrell movie. My hatred for Will Ferrell movies are well known. However, my interest in Eurovision was piqued, and I'll support Rachel McAdams any day, so 2 out of 3 reasons was enough to get me to spend that time. I wasn't necessarily expecting anything good, but I was hoping for something of substance this go around. How'd it hold up? This is my honest opinion of EUROVISION Song Contest, the Story of Fire Saga. Too long a title, Ferrell. Jesus. Set in Iceland, Lars, played by Will Ferrell, has dreamt of winning Eurovision since he was a kid alongside his oldest friend, Sigrid, played by Rachel McAdams, who is an exceptional singer and secretly loves Lars. They submit their audition tape under the name Fire Saga and soon find themselves picked for Iceland's audition round leading up to Eurovision, along with 9 other contestants who are far more talented and expected to make more progress. The two leave their home with high hopes, but their performance becomes a disaster. Though convinced that they'd be disqualified, a twist of fate. A yacht hosting all of the other contestants explodes, killing all of them, leaving only Lars and Sigrid to represent Iceland in Eurovision. As they try desperately to up their act and win, their personal relationship is tested when Lars's desires to win slowly creates a rift between him and Sigrid, made only worse when the Russian representative Alexander Lemtov, played by Dan Stevens, eyes Sigrid as a romantic and artistic conquest. I'm not saying it's good, it's not, but compared to most of Will Ferrell's outings, this is probably the most palatable, we'll say. Put it to you this way, if you liked the other guys, from Mark Wahlberg, Samuel L. Jackson, and The Rock, but not for Will Ferrell, this movie is very similar to that. He's not that funny, but everything around him kind of is. And even he isn't really that bad in it. Let's get into it. Far and away, the best part of the movie is Rachel McAdams. Because of fucking course she is. There's just something about her brand of comedy. She's so expressive, almost to the point of cartoonish, but it's always worked in her favor, and even somehow adds to the material. She's just wonderful. But if there's anyone else that gives her a run for her money, it's Dan Stevens. Holy shit, this dude had me cracking the fuck up. His stereotypical Russian accent, his soul-piercing gaze, and how he uses that into his character's sexiness. Even his physicality on the stage, making you seriously consider if Alexander is gay and doesn't know it with how flamboyant his performances are. I can't tell you how hilarious he is. Actually, a lot of the Eurovision performances are kind of fun. This guy who looks all burly and could crush your skull with his non-dominant hand is putting on a spectacle. And of course, Fire Saga's stuff, from the blunders to the more powerful moments. Won't lie, I know McAdams wasn't singing that final song, but that performance, how nice it sounded, mixed with the visuals, it sent chills down my spine for sure. And I do want to give credit where credit is due. Ferrell had a couple of laughs here and there. Now make no mistake, if you're on the Ferrell hate train like I am, like I know many people are, I'm not trying to pitch this as the one that will turn you around on him. It's not. You will get those cringy moments where he tries way too hard, and yeah, those moments will be painful, and even a couple will drag out for an unnecessarily long time, leading to that trademark frustration haters like me come to expect out of his brand of comedy. However, compared to most of his other movies, I feel like more effort was put into this. Or maybe the comedy just landed more frequently than usual. It's a far cry better than Holmes and Watson or certainly Daddy's Home, so if you're not Will Ferrell's biggest supporter, I will say this is easier to get through than most. I know it's not the most glowing of recommendations, I'm not trying to make it one. Lord knows I've seen this movie once and I will never watch it again, but it isn't a chore to sit through. But now, it's time to shine a spotlight on the actual negatives. While I'm not one to get insulted on behalf of someone else, an individual, or an entire culture, so I'll try to keep my outrage of the portrayal of the Icelandic culture non-existent. However, I have to voice some key disappointments. There's a long-running joke that Sigrid believes in elves and that this is a very divisive thing amongst the Icelandic people. One character even comments how it's ridiculous that there's a large statistic of people who believe in these tiny elves, treating them almost like everyone else treats a religion. Except this isn't accurate. Or maybe it kind of is? In an interview with real-life Icelandic Eurovision contender Dottie Freyr, hope I pronounced that right, I had to attempt at least one, he was kind of vague about it, saying, "It's not really part of my life, but I thought it was funny to include that in the movie. That was an aspect that I didn't expect." How Icelandic people are portrayed in the movie is very inaccurate, but I still found it entertaining. Seeing an American comedy that happens in Iceland, with a lot of Icelandic actors, some of them I know personally, and they're all speaking with a super Icelandic accent. Maybe this is just my interpretation of his words, but it almost sounds like this is some kind of secret shame of the Iceland people. That elves really are on par with Bigfoot and Santa Claus, but it's not his belief. I truly don't know what to make of this information. Best guess, no, this is an out-of-nowhere joke because fuck it. We're Will Ferrell and Adam McKay, and we love the smell of our farts. And here I was, ready to be an asshole and tease the Iceland people about this, but now I know it's not real. Fuck you, movie. I love how my biggest complaint right now is that I can't be an asshole and make fun of Iceland about this. How dare you, movie, for taking away my right to be an asshole? The movie as a whole is a cliche. Wide-eyed dreamer, disapproving parent, romantic interest that is secondary to his vision of victory, realizes that he has feelings for her when she's with someone else, Actually, this is pretty infuriating. Lars and Sigrid have 2 breakup scenes. One after Lars is with another woman, and after he thinks he lost the Eurovision semifinals. Seriously, I did not care about Lars after this scene. And look how he skulks away wearing this ridiculous outfit while wearing these stupid shades. Are you trying to have a sad scene or a funny scene? Staggeringly, you can't have both. They're polar opposite emotions. Christ. But of course, they get back together through some contrived means. Seriously, we're not past this shit yet. Overall, it's hard for me to review a Ferrell movie. It kind of just boils down to me groaning at a bad joke that I'm not going to remember. And there's always going to be a bias, a natural bias that I'm going to have against his movies, because they're all either the same to me or they find new ways for me to hate them. My one saving grace in all this, at least in my own eyes, is that I wasn't really watching this for Ferrell. I just wanted to be educated on what Eurovision was, and hopefully Rachel McAdams would save the product. I can't say if Eurovision was portrayed accurately, but I was legitimately entertained by those segments, and McAdams did in fact save the product. She and Dan Stevens did. Both are gems. No, it's not the worst Will Ferrell movie I've seen. It is definitely easier to sit through, but it's not going to change your mind. If you're anything like me, it won't change your mind about him. Fans of his will obviously watch this and enjoy this and not give a crap about my opinion. So this review doesn't go out to them. It goes out to anyone who's like me. Watch it not for him, but for everything around him. If you can compartmentalize, separate Ferrell from everything else, you might actually have a solid time. My honest rating for Eurovision, a strong 3 out of 5. I'm not saying the entire title. Thanks so much for watching it, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.